Hey familia, Miranda here. Welcome to another episode of First Viewing, where I share my thoughts and recommendations with you guys on films that I watched for the very first time. So I do have a little handful here to share with you guys today, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so first up, I did check out the Robert Englund story. You guys, this is a fantastic documentary. That's really all I can really say on this. I mean, you need to watch it for yourself. I think everybody should have a copy of this. If you haven't watched it, definitely, jump on it. Like I said, it is just fantastic. It was such a great insight to Robert Englund, and it was just a really cool look at his career beforehand, like before Freddy, and just everything it took for him to work up to getting that role as Freddy, which initially he actually didn't really want, but he was looking for work, and somehow he nailed it. And so yeah, he is one of the most iconic horror characters and stuff, and it was really nice to see all that progression from how his career started up until Freddy, and then everything afterwards and whatnot. And yeah, it was just a really great kind of learning experience. I definitely feel like I learned a lot about who he was or is. And it was really nice to see all of like the commentary on all the people who just love and adore him, you guys, and all the people that got to work with him and everything. So it's a really, really great documentary. So you definitely should check it out. All right, so next up is this film here called Romance and Cigarettes. This was a big miss for me, you guys. I thought this was pretty dang boring. There was nothing really exciting happening. It's, I guess, relatable, you could say, because I mean, you have James Gandolfini's character. He's kind of in this unsatisfying marriage, and so he kind of has this adventurous love affair with Kate Winslet's character, who, might I say, certain like shots in this film, she was kind of almost unrecognizable. I was like, is that really Kate Winslet? But yeah, it's supposed to be a musical, you guys, which I will give it that it has a really great soundtrack. But the musical numbers in here, they're very like minimal, and they just kind of pop up here and there, and it's not really the characters singing, but they're actually more like lip syncing, which I found kind of annoying, and it just really wasn't enjoyable. And so yeah, I just found this to be very boring, so this is definitely a one and done for me. All right, so I finally did check out The Faculty. I know, I can't believe myself too that it was a first time watch, but I definitely enjoyed this one. I thought it was executed very well. You have obviously the stat cast, great soundtrack, good practical effects, and a very easy to follow storyline. There's some decent humor, and it's definitely cheesy at times, and I also found this to be a really great kind of tribute to the 90s, but I really enjoyed this one, you guys. It's not like scary or anything like that. I mean, I like that there was some gore, but it wasn't anything like over the top or anything like that, and I mean, I enjoyed all the characters, though I kind of wish that Usher's character had a bit of a better role. Like, I wish we could have seen him more with like the group of these other like main characters and stuff, but yeah, this is definitely one that I will be watching again down the road. So next up, we have It Follows. This is one that I always heard good things on, and you guys, this is definitely a very, very interesting film. I didn't find it scary, even though there is a very creepy atmosphere in here, and it is quite the anxiety builder. Just the thought of having something following you, lingering behind you all the time, is definitely uneasy. So this is definitely a slow burn, but it is one of those films that definitely leaves you thinking. Like, the ending does literally just leave it open for you to interpret this film however you will. And so yeah, this film, with all the metaphors that are in here and the layers to the story, you can definitely interpret it so many different ways. But this definitely has a lot to do with like the choices that one makes, especially when it comes to, sexual intimacy and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can kind of get from here about like this it thing being transferred, like via sexual intercourse and stuff like that. And so kind of it being like a sign as like an STD, which obviously lingers with you over the years and stuff like that. In this case, if you will call it like a sexually transmitted demon, because the it is a sort of demon that follows you, takes a different like person form and whatnot. You kind of have that at hand, but it's also kind of, in a way, the kind of fears of entering into adulthood, because I mean, the main girl, she's like 19, so she's only been like an adult for a year, so she's still kind of coming out of those stages of like, her teenage years, and still curious about sex and all that kind of stuff. And so basically the fears of entering adulthood and the whole like making bad choices and stuff like that. And, you know, when we make bad choices, oftentimes, you know, as the years pass on, we try to hide those things, but oftentimes, no matter how much we try to forget about them, they're always going to be there, you know, in the back of our mind or whatever. And so oftentimes those things kind of catch up with us later in the years and stuff. So this film is just quite the anxiety builder, you guys. So it definitely kind of gets you going, and it is one of those films that just definitely leaves you thinking. So interpret it how you will. I'm curious though, if you have seen it, what are your guys' thoughts on this film? All right, so next up is Infinitely Polar Bear. This one I kind of had higher hopes for. I mean, I love Mark Ruffalo and Zoe Saldana, and I thought that they were pretty good in here together. I wouldn't say that their chemistry was like, you know, over the top, but I thought that they worked well together. And then the two little girls that play the daughters in here, I thought that they were both super cute and a hoot at times. But basically, he suffers these like manic like type breakdowns. You know, he's been, kind of put away and stuff like that from time to time to kind of help him overcome them and stuff. And so basically they are kind of down on their luck. They need money. The mom, she ends up going away to like an out of state graduate program. And so the dad, who obviously is still kind of recovering from these breakdowns, is in charge of his two daughters and stuff. And so the mom, she comes and visits. I think it's like every couple weeks or something like that. And whatnot. But yeah, just everything he kind of goes through with the girls and stuff. It was interesting. And like, I don't know, at times though, his character could be kind of an ass. Like, he was kind of a jerk at times, that's for sure. I know that the girls, there was a lot of things that they didn't like approve of or anything like that, but I definitely think that in the end, it worked out well. Their whole like situation and everything. And, you know, he was definitely trying, despite him being kind of in this like kind of depressed state and just overcoming all of these like crazy like breakdowns and stuff like that. I think that it worked well for him, you know, to have all this extra time with his daughters and stuff like that, and to kind of like prove himself of being like a worthy, you know, fatherly figure and stuff. And yeah, it's a beautiful film. I honestly thought I probably would have cried in this, but I'm surprised that I didn't. But it's definitely one that I would watch again, but it wasn't anything like, you know, over the top or whatever. So like I said, I kind of expected a little bit more from this, but overall I enjoyed it. All right, next film I have here is Officer Down. Now, raise a hand who got this one for the freaking awesome slipcover. I'm sure most people did when they went to Dollar Tree and snagged this. But anywho, this film, you guys, it's pretty dang cheesy. It's pretty dang bad, but there is some good action and some crazy good gore in here, which I was not expecting. If you liked Hobo with a Shotgun, I definitely think that you'll like this one. For me personally, I mean, even though I did enjoy this, I really don't see myself watching it again. So it's probably just going to be a one and done for me. But it's still a fun film. Like I said, good action, good gore. And I mean, basically you have this officer who they kind of resurrect time and time again to, you know, take care of like the baddest of bad criminals and stuff like that and whatnot. So, I mean, yeah, but it is super cheesy, you guys. Definitely has its funny moments and whatnot. But yeah. Like I said, if you liked Hobo with a Shotgun, you might like this one. It's a little bit, you know, kind of fast-paced at times, but then at times it also kind of drags, so I don't know. Like I said, it's just a one and done for me, but I did enjoy it. All right, we got Fast X. So I love this, you guys. Honestly, this was definitely better than the last film, the ninth. This one, you have a really, really good storyline, and there's just plenty of action in here, which I loved. Jason Momoa as the bad guy in this, oh my gosh, I freaking loved his character. He was just so like psycho yet so hilarious. Like, oh my gosh, it's just a perfect combo for a villain, and he was just totally just a psycho badass. So yeah, there's not really much else to say on this film other than that I enjoyed the heck out of this one. It was so good. Like I said, I love the storyline of this, and at least, you know, it wasn't necessarily, I mean, even though it is about family, it's not too crazy like family every freaking line like in, you know, Fast 9, you know. So I will say though, I was so mad at the end. I was so mad. Why did they leave us hanging like that? Oh my gosh, I was like yelling at the freaking TV. It's like, why would you do that to me? Yeah, so I'm kind of bummed about that, but yeah, overall, you guys, is a awesome addition to the franchise. All right, next we have Call Jane. Now this one, you guys, isn't going to be for everybody. It is a delicate topic. It does have to do with abortions. It is a true story about this underground organization that provided safe abortions, for women back in, I believe it was like the 1960s and stuff. And this was interesting, though, to see Elizabeth Banks in such a more serious role. I can't recall ever seeing her in a role like this. I'm so used to seeing her in like comedic roles and stuff. So this was definitely a step up for her, and I thought that she did really, really well in this. Sigourney Weaver's character, she kind of plays the ringleader of the organization and stuff, and it was a very, very interesting watch. Elizabeth Banks' character, she went to go have an abortion because she was basically had this condition, like a heart condition or something, that was life-threatening, and if she wasn't pregnant anymore, she would be fine. So she went, she had an abortion, and she kind of got super into the organization and stuff, and so she wanted to be a part of it. And I will say, though, I guess the characters in here aren't necessarily real, but everything about like the organization is, which I find kind of crazy because so they have this one supposed doctor, but he's not really a doctor. He's just kind of this dude who's like self-taught, and how he learned how to, do abortions and stuff like that, who knows? But yeah, Elizabeth Banks' character in here, she learns from him, and then she goes on to teach other people and stuff like that, because they were wanting to be able to help more women and stuff. And as far as it's known, there has never been, or there wasn't any, like complaints or deaths or, serious, things happening or whatever. So, I mean, they were all safe and whatnot. And so, yeah. It was an interesting watch for sure. Like I said, it's a delicate topic, and not everybody is going to be on board with this or anything like that. Everybody has their own opinions about the specific matter and whatnot, but it was still an interesting watch. So yeah, I'm not going to necessarily recommend it. I mean, I'd watch it again, but that's just me personally, because I did think that all the performances in here were really great, and I enjoyed kind of seeing the progression of this like organization and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not going to go much further into it or anything like that because I don't want this to get like all out of hand. But yeah, we have Call Jane. All right, next up we have A Kind of Murder. Sorry, don't want to blind you there, but yeah, so I got this one at Dollar Tree like a while back, and it's kind of been in the back of my mind. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead, pop it in, get it over with. And yeah, I'm glad that I did, because this was boring, you guys. I really could not get into this. It was kind of slow, it just kind of dragged, and it just wasn't a great thriller. There was nothing exciting happening in this. I mean, not even the whole like investigation of the deaths or whatever and stuff. So I mean, yeah, there was just nothing good about this film. I did not like it at all. All right, next is The Killing of a Sacred Deer. This film was very interesting. I thought it was very, very well executed and very well directed, and all of the performances in here were outstanding. Basically, my understanding is that this is kind of like a retelling of like some sort of like old Greek tragedy or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting kind of story here. And I mean, this like kind of main kid, it was just so crazy how, he comes off being kind of just disturbed and a little psycho, and just the way he weaved himself into this family, all to just kind of like tear them apart and whatnot. And I mean, leads to like sacrifice and all of that. It was just crazy. It's actually a very kind of disturbing film, and it's just very, very unsettling. And I think that if the film could do that, to like just make you so unsettled, I mean, it did its job then. Just the tension buildup in here was just so good, you guys. And that last act was amazing. So I definitely recommend you check this one out. I mean, it is a little slow here and there. It might not be everybody's cup of tea. And it may be a little hard to understand at times, but it's definitely worth a watch, you guys. It's really, really good. All right, next up is Pathogen. Now, when I hauled this not too long ago, I had mentioned that what really caught my interest about this film is that it is directed by a 15-year-old girl. So she wrote the story when she was 12, and it was finally put out when she was 15, but she did direct it herself. And I mean, it was okay. It wasn't anything great. I can definitely see that this was written by a teenager, obviously. But it's definitely full of just pure cheesiness. There's definitely some, dumb incidences and stuff like that, dumb decisions and whatnot. I mean, it's a sort of fun little zombie flick, but it's nothing like over the top. I mean, it says in here that there's supposed to be like eye gouging and stuff like that, but like I said, it wasn't as intense as I was hoping it was going to be, you know, like the whole eye gouging, decapitation, stuff like that. It just wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be, but it was still a decent little zombie flick. It's very short. It's like 66 minutes long, so you know, not a long runtime at all. But yeah, it's definitely cheesy, you guys. It's one of those it's bad, it's good kind of films. So I mean, you know, definitely at least check it out. Like I said, I just kind of maybe wish for a little bit more, but then again, I mean, coming from a teenage girl, you really can't expect too much from it. So but yeah, it's a fun little zombie flick. All right, and last but not least, I have here A Walk Among the Tombstones. I really enjoyed this one. It was a decent little kind of thriller. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I mean, being Liam Neeson, I definitely would have thought this would have been like more like action-packed or whatever. But this was kind of a more serious type role for him, which actually I thought he did very well in this. I really enjoyed him, and I thought it was a good kind of change for him outside of like, you know, action-packed stuff and whatnot. Though I will say the title, there's only a few scenes actually like in the graveyard, so it's kind of interesting that that's the, you know, having to deal with the title of this film. But it was definitely a good watch. It has to do with like a kidnapping and him, you know, well, at first it's like a murder and then a kidnapping and all of that, and him trying to help this person out who he's kind of trying to decide kind of like right from wrong, because the person he's helping out is actually a drug dealer and stuff. His wife was murdered, and then all of a sudden there's this little girl who goes missing and stuff, and it's all kind of tied together and whatnot. And so the bad guys, like the killers or whatever this film, they are definitely a bit on the creepy side. They definitely seem very disturbed and whatnot. So I thought that they were very good in here. But yeah, overall, this is a good watch. Like I said, it's not like over the top, like action packed, like we're used to with Liam Neeson, but it is a good thriller. So that is it for today's video, you guys. Let me know if you guys have seen any of these films, your thoughts on them. I would love to hear about your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Join the family if you have not, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.